Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, Retro Life for You. My name is Chris Adams, host of the show. Off to my right here on my screen, anyway, is Travis Rollins. He's back to the party again. Been a while for him, but he is. He said he would not miss this show, and if I tried to keep him out of it, him out, he would threaten bodily harm and find where I actually live and come do this. And as everybody can see, if you're watching the video instead of listening to the audio, at the bottom of the screen here, we have Catherine Mary Stewart and we have Mr. Lance Guest. We are talking today, The Last Starfighter.
Heck yeah! On Super Bowl Sunday.
On Super Bowl Sunday.
This is kind of a Super Bowl for Retro Life. This is our biggest show.
Who needs foosball? Mama said foosball was the devil anyway, right?
So that's right.
The first movie I ever auditioned for was about foosball in 1980.
Was it really?
It's called Foos.
I have never heard of that. That's cool though.
I was to play Leif Garrett's wacky friend, I think.
Leif Garrett, awesome.
That's a name I haven't heard in
1980, baby. This is probably before
Did you get it? Is what I want to know.
Oh, no.
No. Well, I didn't do it.
It was it even made into a movie? What happened?
I think so. Yeah.
We'll
what's her name?
Look for it.
The young girl from Days of Heaven. She was in it also.
That's awesome because in prep for this, I did kind of the same thing to you that I did to Catherine, which made for an awesome interview because we got to talk about the apple more, which she kind of flies past most of the time, but it turns out it's a lot of fun. Turns out it's super cool. But I had saw another interview with you where you couldn't quite recall what your very first own, because you did a lot of theater early on, right? And it was a Western. Oh, I just saw this last night too, and I can't remember. But you were bouncing back and forth between whether it was a Western or not. So there was a Western that you auditioned for, yeah? Back early on? Lance, yes.
Maybe. I remember auditioning for the TV.
You remembered it.
No. I think I remember auditioning for the TV movie of like Gunsmoke, which is what our family used to watch all the time. We used to watch.
May have been what it was.
That's probably what it was.
We can't expect you to remember though, because I did read something just a moment ago that you said The Last Starfighter was a blur, and that you.
I said it was a blur.
You were quoted saying it was a blur to you right now. You don't remember a lot of it, but things are coming back and everything.
Well, what I meant to say is that there was only 38 days of actual shooting, and like a week of pickups. So
that's insane for a 110-minute movie, 115, however long it is.
Yeah.
So we didn't have enough. We didn't have enough time for a lot of like shenanigans or any kind of weird hijinks or weird things. It was just like get it done, because it was pretty fast. It was.
See, they robbed you of the fun of practical jokes and everything. How could they do that?
Well, it's okay. Money's at stake.
That's right.
Yeah. It's funny too. It's funny because I was wondering if the little brother rocking around at the very beginning where he's shooting everything with his little sucker gun, if that ever got to be a thing on the stage, like if that got to be some of the shenanigans.
There was right, Kath. There was very little, extra other than like shoot, dialogue, boom, next. So there was not.
So did that add to? Question about that? Did that add to? Because I know both of you, neither of you expected The Last Starfighter to become as big as it was at the time, nor such a cult classic that it is today. Did that add to the surprise to you? The fact that it just happened such a whirlwind? To expect that it got as huge as it is?
Well, actually, we kind of expected it to be a little more when it first came out, and it first came out.
Really?
And it was three weeks in the theater, and it was like, okay, it's done. Bye.
Oh, man.
I was like, at least it was in LA.
Didn't Star Wars come out just right after it or something like that? Or
Jedi,
something came out?
We Return to the Jedi. I think Jedi was either 83 or 84. I think it was 83. It might have been up before it.
Might have been.
But you guys are kind of playing off like Star Wars being a space movie. They were calling it a space opera or something. They called it. I don't know why they called it that, but you kind of feel like you had there was success with Star Wars. success with the Buck Rogers or Battlestar Galactica, this should do equally as well. It is. It had a good story to it. It was fun.
I think people like to discover it. Go ahead. Go ahead, Kat.
Oh, I was just going to say that the difference is that it's not in the future; it's now, and the characters are relatable, and you know, they're like real people that you can. I think that the young audience they sort of look at it and maybe think what is possible. You know, because they can relate to the characters. You know what I'm saying? So that was the difference. Yes, there's a outer space theme in there, but what for me anyway sort of grounds it more is the fact that it's like real people now.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. I remember watching it as a kid too, and it's like you wanted to be somebody in there, anybody. So it was so cool.
The guy with all the noses, right?
Yeah. I just want to be somebody. But it's like, well, I mean, to me, because I guess
was like iconic for kids, you know.
Right.
I guess Rogan. It's like, wow.
The way I put that question too, I guess it came in too without any kind of preface, because again, we've talked to Kathy before, and now like I said, you know, watching prior interviews with you, Lance, and seeing you speak about the movie so much and how you know, the fans are endearing to y'all because like we're all diehard, and like I said, it's just this big old cult thing. And I should have asked you where your expectations would have been, or would you have thought back then that it would still be as huge as it is today? I was joking with Chris. I said, I've got a question. I said, I definitely have a question now. How cool does it feel to know that on Amazon Prime, The Last Starfighter is a $15 digital purchase, but Rocky IV is included. It's free.
Rocky IV.
Wow, I did not know that.
What about that deal?
You have to pay for the good stuff.
I don't think we get paid, but
I think that's awesome. I think that's totally awesome.
That's great. I mean, to tell you the truth, I've always liked cult type movies. I've always liked movies that are undiscovered or where they don't, you know, jam it down your throat like this is going to be a hit. And and I was kind of pleased that people basically, they came upon it. You know, they were looking and they're like, oh, okay, this sounds good. And then they're like, whoa, how come we've never heard of this? You know, and it's a different sort of process of somebody liking something if they feel like they've kind of done a little bit of, they feel more original, you know.
They've discovered it. It's not like everybody else loves this movie. Yeah.
So we're very appreciative of those people, because I'm those people. So I like that. I like that too.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Sure.
I've showed it to some of the younger people before, try to get them to watch it with me and everything, and they're like, yeah, and this is not a knock on the movie in any means, because this was cutting edge at the time, you know. Yeah. And they're like, look how it's shot. Where's the CGI? Where's this? There was no CGI back then. This
invented,
you know,
we invented it, but then
we invented it, baby, not us.
They're so exposed to just like in your face stuff that, you know, that it's kind of hyper senses are just on all the time, and this is something that has that. And of course the CGI is kind of dated, but there's a great history to it. But it's still, like, again, it's kind of a story that you don't see anymore about kids with a story arc. You know, they go from one place to another, and it's relatable. It's too bad, really, that there aren't more movies like that. I think
it is. I had a guy on with me once here talking before. His name is Mark Anthony Austin, I believe. He is a special effects guy, and he's done a little bit of acting here and there, just with small parts. But we talked about the special effects and things like CGI or the old ways of, because he did some work on Star Wars in 1997 when it was re-released at the theater. And that the type of stuff they did then, plus what they did on Star Wars before with the 3D modeling and having big giant sets of a 3D model with your X-Wing fighter on a cable going through chasing something, but on film it looks like so awesome, like you were there in space. Something about that feel of that type of stuff is just so much better sometimes versus, you know, your CGI and what you can do.
Well, they had so much practice. I mean, they've been doing that for a while. You know, they've been doing that process they kind of had it down. Did you guys see the Skywalker, the documentary? I think it was in 3 parts or something, or 5 parts or something.
Oh, I have not seen that. I have not seen
what's
that.
it called? It's called ILM. It was just it was basically the ILM story.
I've seen parts of it, but not all of it. Though. I've seen parts of it.
Mm.
Yeah, what I did see was pretty cool though. I'm just wondering now. You guys are going to help me out here because I don't want to butcher the man's name. Such a good actor and everything. Dan O'Herlihy or Herlihy? Herlihy. O'Herlihy.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Robert Preston and Dan O'Herlihy? I mean, seasoned actors and everything, and
iconic actors, both of them.
Yeah. For Robert Preston was just pretty kind of surreal for me because I was one of those kids that I'd listen to records and I did musical theater in high school and so I knew about the Music Man and I used to I memorized that whole Trouble in River City, that whole rap that he does, and that was a cool thing to know, like because there was so many words, it was cool to do that. And so you sort of when you're doing you sort of become that guy, like when you're an actor and you have you're doing a performance of somebody else. And it just was odd because even though I didn't know him, I didn't do that show in high school. I just remember.
You didn't know
I
him,
learned the whole.
Yeah.
Kind of living in his shoes, feeling like you kind of know. I would think that would be kind of surreal.
Yeah.
Actually,
it was surreal. Yeah,
you embody that, and then to meet that, that would be. I could imagine that would be kind of wild.
And he is a pretty much bigger than life person. I mean, he is a very theatrical kind of guy. He's very, very expressive in everything he said. He always seemed to have a lot of weight in everything he did. He wasn't like this, shy sort of retiring fellow. He's a very robust guy.
He's sort of exactly like his characters that he plays in a way.
Yeah.
He's when you meet. I mean, I didn't get to work with him, sadly, but I did meet him when we were doing some pickup shots at the studio, and he was leaving when I arrived, and I was introduced to him. So I was really grateful for that. I don't know how much we talked about all this before, but he literally came up to me and he kissed my hand, and it was all very theatrical, and I was just like starstruck. He literally had this like glow, sort of this golden glow around him. So I was grateful to have been able to at least meet him because I was never in a scene with him, as opposed to my friend Lance here, who
it was just wild. I mean, when I say things were a blur, it was mostly because I was pretty much in every scene, and sometimes I was on both sides of the. I was on both sides of the scenes when I was playing the other guy, and
we play a band.
And I just was so sort of laser focused on stuff that there was not a lot of downtime for me to reflect on, like, wow, this is really cool to be doing this and everything. Because I was like, pedal to the metal kind of all the time. So when I say it was a blur, it doesn't mean I was like,
It was like one of your first movies, right? I mean, we were very young as well. So we were both, I can totally speak for myself, but I was like a sponge, I was so happy to be there, and I was, checking everything out. It was like a dream. You really, for me anyway, in that situation, you're just sort of living in the moment. You're not thinking about, I wonder what's going to happen with this movie or anything. It was just literally, I was so happy to be there. I was having so much fun. It was such a great community of people working on it who are very, very enthusiastic about it, and all quite young as well. And so it is kind of a blur because you're young and you're just getting started in the business in Hollywood. And it's wild.
That's a great that's a great explanation, but it's also a great segue into one of the questions that I most wanted to ask the two to get both of your perspectives from it. With everything that you just built upon, what do you two think contributed to the longevity of y'all's closeness inside of your friendship? We don't see that a lot, or at least celebrities don't talk about it a lot. And you guys meet on this movie at this young age in this whirlwind, caught up starting in this whirlwind of a life of acting, but you've remained such close friends. I see both of you talk about how you still speak to each other nearly weekly or like every time you
We
So you
do.
still
We see
great
each other all the
So
time.
how did we build that in this business? Because that seems pretty unique to me.
Yeah, it is. It's. I mean, there's all kinds of funny stories we can tell, like about the time that I showed up at your apartment building, and my wife's sort of, I don't know, stepmother-in-law or whatever. Her this woman she's related to lives in the same building, and it was like the doorman goes, you're from the Last Starfighter, right? Yeah, well, that girl you did the movie with, she lives on the blank floor, and I was like, are you kidding me?
You didn't even know.
Yeah, I had no idea. It's like New York City.
Yeah, that's so
Several
cool.
apartments ago. But this was like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I find that like in most of so a lot of the earlier movies that I did, I'm still friends with a lot of the people, but there was a period where we were all like young actors in LA and working all the time, and you sort of lose touch with people. So we hadn't. I mean, how old is Jack now?
He's almost 19.
So it was about 20 years ago, and that was like 10 years after we'd done the movie. So we'd sort of lost touch. And then the doorman says, Lance Guest is here. He'd like to come up and say hi. I'm like, what?
Right on.
Yeah.
So
y'all
kind of went off and then matured separately into your lives, and then kind of came back together, and just after you reconnected, the bro sis thing kind of just clicked again, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I was living in New York. He was living in LA. I mean, the chances of this happening are like minuscule, So it was, but it reconnected us. And, Lance is out in New York. He's done a lot of work out here as well. And he comes out to New York every once in a while. And I go to LA, pretty much annually, whatever. So we always make a point of seeing each other, and we're always sort of in touch, and we do a lot of conventions together too.
Yeah. That's
that actually reminds me of something I was looking at just earlier. I'll go ahead and pull it back on my screen over here. I believe it was a retro game con y'all went to in Houston.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Was that recent this year? I mean, I see a date on here, but I'm not sure if it was this year or last year.
That was this year.
This year. Okay. So
was it this year or last year?
No, I'm sorry. Well, I mean,
yeah.
2022.
2022.
So, yeah.
Okay.
It was late in 22,
okay. Yeah. Okay, because they put January. It's January 31st is the date, is the timestamp for the date on here, and the time 12:41. But I'm just wondering, is that an actual playable arcade game you're standing by of the Last Starfighter?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Some guy they ran down the cabinet. They were able to run down the perfect cabinet, the replica of the cabinet. And I'm not exact here, but they probably would go, oh no, it's absolutely the blah blah blah. But some guy who was a physician, he's a doctor, and he's this guy, and he like, I built the game. And I was like, how do you find time to build a game out of nothing, and
no kidding.
Said, well, I just kind of
just happened. I mean, I had some time. I did a thing, and
he's like this incredibly, busy surgeon. I forget what kind of surgeon he is, but it was just like, but obviously fans come from all over.
Really humble guy.
He was a great guy.
Yeah. So it's all he had to work with was a graphic of something that was not a game. It was a graphic that what would a game look like if you played it? Well, it would do this and do this and do this, but it's the same graphic. It's not like I played a game on the show. I played to essentially play a video playback of the thing, so that's all the clues he had as far as what.
That's awesome, and he made a whole entire game with levels.
Entire game out of it,
I'm looking, Travis, at the picture right now. I'll send it to you later. They're standing next to it with this guy here that I guess somebody that made it. Maybe the guy that made it. I don't know. The name shown here is Brett Weiss. I don't know if that's the guy or not that made it, but I don't
remember his name.
He might have been. I think there was two people involved. One of them was the cabinet, and one of them was the guts of the machine.
Yeah.
So it might have been.
At the time when the movie came out, they said that type of stuff for games wasn't even available then. You couldn't make a game like that in the arcade.
No.
And so that technology was.
We had the kung fu. We had kung fu with the little guys that walk across and do like.
Yeah.
We had that. But, so to come back later, like you said, on just what little knowledge you have and make this is really pretty amazing. I thought it looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering though if it was actually playable, if it was just for looks.
No. They really did it up. They really did up. I was always worried that the guys were kind of rough on it, because like that's what you do in a video. You bang it around.
Get into it, right?
The circuitry. Yeah. I'm always like, be careful, you don't. But the guy's like, no. That's the way you're supposed to play the game. So.
Yeah. Well, if he's good enough to build it, he's good enough to repair the little handle.
There you go.
That's good. You guys, like you said, like Travis said, being good friends and everything today still. Did you take to each other pretty well at the start of the movie? Like, did you have a good chemistry with each other, I guess, starting off with the movie? And
we hated each other.
Yeah. I was like, what is wrong with her?
Right,
Could you not have got me somebody better, okay?
I know. Well, they when you audition, they do these kind of chemistry auditions. They'll pair you with somebody. So I think, I mean, obviously they thought when they cast us that we would get along, and they were right.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I remember. It was funny. Remember we went to the soda fountain. Remember after we got cast, we had like a soda fountain date, a very Alex and Maggie kind of thing. We went to some place in Santa Monica.
Yeah, just to get to know each other, because and talk about the script and all. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
What's funny is I think it was Cafe 50s in Santa Monica. Remember Cafe 50s?
Yeah.
And then
I don't remember where we went, but I remember that place. Yeah.
Well, they did Back to the Future, and they had Cafe.
Oh yeah.
They had that thing, and then they had Cafe 80s in the second Back to the Future. So it's kind of
that's
funny
cool.
that they had that.
Right.
I'm sure you guys have seen Back to the Future, so.
I've heard of it. I mean, I've heard it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's your dog. I was wondering which dog was like.
Hey, mine's a Chihuahua. Mine can't get that loud.
Speaking to that and being kids too, and y'all were talking about absorbing as much as you could and everything. For Lance, where were you drawing? Were you drawing from some teenage angst when you got at the beginning of the movie when you got the rejection letter? And because you had, dude, the look on your face. Like I just rewatched the movie this morning. I told Chris, I'm like, I'm going to rewatch it right now, even though I watched it probably 3 months ago. But the look of disgust and not caring, like it was so perfect. But then you can still even see it when you're further than you're about to hit the high score, and it still just looks like he's just pissed and he doesn't care. But then as soon as you hit the high score, it's like, yeah. So it's like, that was so good, and it was like, I'm like, dude, that's just so like I've never appreciated how realistic that teenage angst in those scenes were,
Well, they had that,
all in his eyes, right?
Yeah, his eyes and the way his mouth.
I'm sorry, I was just thinking about that, but you've got these eyes. Look at them; they're beautiful and so expressive, And I remember thinking, "Wow, that's such subtle acting. I mean, shouldn't he be doing more or something?" But you're right; it's all.
The face and the mouth, like your mouth was pursed, or like your jaw was clenched, and like you don't appreciate that stuff, I guess, in the moment. But then, like going back and the more and more I review, and the more I get into Chris with like actually breaking down and analyzing things, and being the nerds that we all love to be, you start recognizing things like that, and it really is. It's like, wow, that really was some amazing acting, even though y'all were young and starting and everything.
Well, I think anybody that the key to all acting is understanding the stakes of the situation, and in that case, he's a guy that's this is the thing he does really well that sort of takes him away from this fairly dreary existence, and it's this and he knows he's like I want to be better than.
He was mad. He wasn't just disappointed. He was.
And I think it came on the tails of like what's his name, Jack Blake, dropping you off in the pickup truck. He's like honking his horn. He's like, he's like being that guy.
Because the guy came out and said, "Where's Meg? Where's Maggie?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I don't know. I guess she's off having fun." And like, dude, like that scene just hit me so hard. I'm like, yeah. That's why I was wondering, like, did you draw from any? Like, did you have some teenage things that you were drawing from at that moment?
Sure. I mean,
stuff going on.
I guess so. I just knew that. That Alex has definitely he's been wronged here. And you just kind of push the pedal to the metal until the director tells you, okay, that's too much. So in my case, I try to do it as realistically as it would be. Sometimes the director's like, I don't know what you're doing, do more. And sometimes they're like, okay, don't do so much. So okay. You sort of get used to, I mean, I'd been acting at that time for probably 8 years, pretty seriously. And I just, you try to give it as much as you can.
Did you find yourself having to pull, would you having at that time with you, when you starting out having so much stage experience, did you find yourself having to pull? Because I hear a lot of times that thespians have to pull back from what they're doing, because a lot of times it's not overacting. Not you.
Yeah, not me, because I tend to sort of underplay everything, and
okay.
You're very much aware of the fact that the camera's like right here, so you don't feel compelled to,
I got you. Okay.
Really do that stuff and
perform to the back of the house.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Nick was always like, "Come on, Lance, I need more. It's just it can't be that." Can't be that subtle.
And it's funny how you notice little things as many times as you've watched something. You can watch something one time, or in my case, you can watch movies that you really like 500 times. It's probably exaggeration, but I mean, so I rewatched this last night. I own this on Vudu, so I've watched it quite often actually. But I just noticed last night for the first time, and I don't know why it caught my attention, the very scene he was talking about. You were mad. You threw the letter at the sign. It pans back out. You can see the sky. And I noticed last night what looked like a shooting star coming down through the sky. And I'm thinking now I'm thinking little subtleties. Is that a shooting star, or is that Centauri arriving in the star car? Coming down? See, I never picked up on that until just last night. It's little things that make a difference in the movie sometimes. And I'm like, how could I have never noticed that? Because I mean, I don't know. It's like, it's not, when it pans out, there's like, you're seeing where the game is in the background. There's you there still mad. There's a wide open sky. And I guess you don't know what to pay attention to at the point when you're watching it. But just last night, I happened to pay attention to the sky, I guess. And there it goes. I'm like, what? How did I ever miss that? That's actually pretty awesome. The little subtleness like that really sticks with you.
Well, in the reshoots, we did you guys wouldn't know that this is a reshoot, but when Beta takes his head off, Beta takes his head off and he sets it on the thing. And at the very end of the scene, he looks out the window and he sees this thing go.
Yes. Right.
So that's,
I do remember. I did notice that one. I do remember that one. And Travis, if I'm not mistaken, speaking of the scene he's talking about, taking the head off and cleaning the head, did you have a question about that? You were a little bit humored by the boy, by the little brother.
I did have a question about that. Going back to your acting, I wanted to know, because it looked like you were trying everything within you to hold it in. When he comes off the bunk bed and he's like, "What the shit?" You're like, "Hey, go to bed. I'm gonna turn mine where your Playboys are." Did you have to reshoot that? Was that a single take? How many times did you have to shoot that? Because it looked like you were about to bust.
I can't remember. We weren't able to reshoot much,
Right.
Got like 2 or 3 takes, Did
that crack you up in the moment?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But I had to, you got to stay in character.
Like, he had this popped down. I was like, I just died laughing.
I can't remember. They do that in the reverse. So he might have just been off camera. So he might not have done that in the scene that I shot.
Okay.
That's
so y'all
how it works.
So scenes with you and him too may have been separate. Like it didn't even happen with
y'all.
y'all.
It roughly happens around the same time, but especially when you're working with kids, they got to shoot the kids out because the kids got to go to school.
Right,
So
and then they only have a certain amount of time that they're allowed to work too. Yeah, because of the labor laws or whatever.
Yeah, so a lot of times they shoot the kids out first, and I'm just off camera. I'm just feeding the lines and everything, and then when he does it for me, sometimes there's a kid, and sometimes there's not a kid. Sometimes there's the director or somebody else that feeds the lines because the kids are in school. I have a kind of a funny story to tell you about this, and I don't know if I did another movie called The Wizard of Loneliness, And our first AD was a guy that was he'd been in the Hells Angels, and he had SS tattoos and big huge this big beard and this big loud voice. And there's a shotgun that we used in a show, and he just carried the shotgun wherever he went because I'm in charge of the gun, all right, And so he's a really tough guy, but a good AD, a really good AD. His name's Chuck. And at one point, I did a scene with Lucas Haas, and Lucas was 12 years old, and he plays this kind of shy, sort of angry little kid. And Lucas was off doing school, and so I had the scene where I'm yelling at him saying, "What happened? How come you let your little brother go?" or whatever. And his lines are like, "Everybody picks on me. I'm the little, the monster that does everything." And so Lucas is gone. So on my reverse, it was Chuck. So they sort of squeezed Chuck. He's a big guy. He's like 6'3", maybe 300 pounds.
The gun.
And he's got his gun. And he's got he's going, "I'm the little monster that everybody picks on." It was some biker acting. It was some awesome.
That's
awesome.
Good acting on your part.
One of my favorite stories.
There's always.
I can envision that. I grew up around those kind of people, so I can totally envision that, and then seeing them acting silly. So that's.
There's always something. We brought up with Catherine when she was on with us for about Weekend at Bernie's. I asked her, how does she ever keep a straight face on set? Because I would be laughing the entire time of that movie because Terry Kaiser being dead and the little subtleties of everything happening, and also stuff like that. Really, I mean, I would be a terrible actor. I couldn't keep a straight face.
Stuff like that too is what kills me too. Like, I mean, I don't even you've got to know what the Bernie is. So you guys are still such huge parts of pop culture, and that right now, from stuff that y'all did decades ago. They call it the Bernie, where they lean back and they do the little dance that they do. It's called the Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's. So it's like
Weekend at Bernie's too.
Two.
Wait, Weekend at Bernie's too. Yeah. So, oh Lord, I told you it was gonna happen, Chris. I got too excited. Knocked everything off of my shelf.
It's hard to get good help these days. It really is.
I get overly excited. My ADD goes crazy when I get in talking about stuff that I love and I nerd out. I love the fact that you guys are still just such a huge part. You're such a huge part of my childhood, and then my 10-year-old son, you're getting to still be part of his childhood, and he doesn't even know it. I'm like, oh, you don't. Hey, well, come here. Let me show you what the Bernie come from, dude. And then it goes into, you're talking to me, Dad, for the podcast. I'm like, bro, my Blu-ray case of the Last Starfighter is right here. I can't zoom in on it, but so I'm like, it's them, dude. So I love that about what y'all created through your work.
Bring him in. You should bring in your kid.
I'll go grab him. He'll
be like, oh my God.
You don't have to twist his arm too much. Travis too much anything you ask, probably.
Yeah.
If you tell him to turn the camera sideways, do a cartwheel, we'll see if you do that next.
Yeah. It's funny because my son, when he was in school, he did this thing. They had this African dance program. Mm-hmm. And I think it was maybe when he graduated in high school, they all got to do like a little solo. Guess what he did?
Was it Bernie?
He did the Bernie.
That's hilarious.
Like,
that is hilarious.
A little tip of the hat, I guess, to his mother. He would never admit it, out loud. But I was like, he's doing the Bernie. So I was kind of tickled by that.
That's good.
That is cool. That is
high art.
Yeah.
What would balance
sheets? He's playing Apex with no shirt on. He don't care.
Damn. Yeah. That's all right.
He's like, I'm busy, Dad.
I'm in the whatever he's in.
Yeah.
I'm in the zone
you're doing
right
that
now.
podcast again? Yeah. Right.
Are you doing the podcast again? Yeah.
I'm in the zone,
Kids
Dad.
are
Just stop it.
very humbling.
We're getting close to Lance having to leave us. Do you want to ask the question that you had?
There is something that we harassed her last time she was here. We got to harass you about this too. Now, there's always the possibility of a sequel, And we talked to her about it and everything. We know it's been reported before. They kick it around and everything. Nothing's solid. And we know how all that goes and everything. So if it comes to the point to where they finally agree to do it, are you open for doing a sequel that is set further down the road? Not like where somebody remakes it, you get like a 5-minute appearance, in it or something. But I mean, something just down the road that includes both of you guys. Like you spent your life on Rylos and building things up, and now this is happening in the future.
Well, I mean, we know about. Obviously, we know that they want to do it. They want to make it, and it's just a matter of pulling the trigger. And I would do it absolutely.
What do you think would work? What do you think would work better? Would it be a sequel movie, or giving it the Cobra Kai treatment? Make something with Netflix as a series and call it Starfighter or something. I mean,
that's a hard thing to call. It's a hard call because I think there was definitely a story. There's more story to be told.
Mm-hmm.
But I hadn't thought about the TV show. I think they were kicking around a TV show about 10 years ago or 15 years ago or something like that. And I think they decided that a feature was going to be the.
I mean, I was thinking personally, make a sequel movie and have you guys in it years down the road, and you've got kids and everything at this point or something. And I believe she pointed out last time, I think she said grandkids would be there probably too or something.
Grandkids, yeah, grandkids.
That's a running joke and everything. But I mean, y'all have kids, and the kids want like your kid can be a starfighter or something there. But have a sequel, build off of that, let people enjoy it. But at the same time, they could always go back and bring in younger people and do some kind of a Netflix or Amazon kind of thing where they make a Starfighter series based on what happened after you both went to Rylos and your story from there. I mean, they could bring into it just kind of like they did with the Lord of the Rings deal with their rings and bringing in younger people to do different story of it and everything, but still same people.
Well, I'd want to do
characters. I mean, so.
I'd want to do it. I mean, I think there's more. I think there's more. There's more to be told. I think there's more.
Yeah, and
I would love that too.
I was going to say, sorry, there's a little bit of a delay here, but I agree with you 100%, Chris. It would be so much fun to do like a sequel, and then from that build on a series, and then we'd be working steadily.
Then we'd be working all the time.
Right.
That would be great. I love that Cobra Kai figured that out, and that's a great precedent to send.
There's been so many things that followed suit. I wouldn't have went with the choice that Chris went with on the example, just because I'm a Tolkien fan and I don't appreciate that one. But everything else, like there's so much stuff that they're doing, like and then they brought back, and we know that culture does keep doing this weird loop too. The new Wednesday program that they've done is awesome. Willow is amazing. I love Willow. And they've brought back, I'm hoping Val, I know Val, they brought him in the Top Gun thing, so I'm hoping they're going to bring Val in some kind of way in Willow at some point. But, they've got everybody that played, Bat Morta and everyone from the movies too, kind of doing these little key roles here and there too. So I think they can make it work for sure, and I would love to see something like that. Like you said,
that'd be really fun.
The list it's just growing how they're doing all that stuff now too.
Yeah, I'm for it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's official.
All right.
We got to get out there. That's what we're going to start campaigning for.
That's right.
Well, I'm really glad you guys like all this stuff. It really makes us feel good, like that you're really that enthusiastic, because I know what it's like to love movies my own self, when I was growing up, there's movies now that I absolutely love that I'm just sort of geek out about and stuff. So it's really means a lot to us,
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
It means so much to us too. I am one, so I can say it. It means so much to us as nerds.
Everybody's a nerd.
It means so much to us too that the celebrities like you take the time to to talk to us, to come on and take time out of your day, come on here and spend some time with us. And we end up, we knew in our hearts, and she told us it was going to be this way with you too, Lance, but it feels like, our time with you, we're almost at an hour already. We're 45 minutes, and it just feels like we've been talking for 5 minutes. It's just like it's so awesome how just you guys speak to us. You don't have these you're not throwing regurgitated answers out like a lot of stuff that you see that's just like this standard line of questioning and these standard answers to get through the thing. So you know what I mean? We love the fact that you guys actually interact and are personable with us too.
Well, I mean, it's to you too. It's your interview style is we know what the same old questions are, and you guys you guys are not doing the same old questions. So I mean, there's obviously a few,
which is good. And also, I mean, the reason that we exist is because of the audience, right? So and so when you say we're so happy you took the time, well, I mean, I personally, I'm just grateful that you're asking us to do it, really, and you really truly are the reason we're here. So we have to appreciate that, and it's fun. You guys are fun. Yeah, and you asked great questions.
We definitely appreciate that.
There were a lot of movies in the 80s that everybody thought, oh well, this is going to be the real big deal, and there's no lasting shows about that. You know what I mean? There's no we don't I remember all those ones that was like, oh, did you get cast in that? Did you go up for that movie and that movie and that movie? And they're supposed to be these really big deals, and a lot of them were kind of like they don't have people 35, 40 years later going, oh my God, now did you so we appreciate you guys a lot.
Well, we touched on it briefly, Catherine, with you last time you were here. I want to go back over with you again and ask Lance the same question. And as I said before, I told you, I don't know if it was you or if it was your wife in email I spoke with. I said I'd keep you about 45 minutes and give you a few extra minutes to get ready to go. So I want to ask you one more question.
All right.
It's about the movie and everything. Favorite scene that you were in? I think I know what Catherine's is. I think she told us last time. I can't remember for sure. But we'll start with her, get her favorite scene. Then I want to get what yours is as well.
So start with me?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's sort of a sequence of scenes, but I think my favorite sequence is when we're at the lake and we're making out, and he's the beta unit, and he's so awkward, and I'm so frustrated because he's acting weird, and then he starts repeating what Jack is saying.
Should I talk dirty to you now?
Like, oh yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh my God. and then the Zandozan comes, and that whole sequence, I just love it. Talk about being cracking up, but that cracked me up. The first time I saw this little thing going bloop, I was like, oh, and then running to the truck, and so to me the truck, and then who are you and what are we doing? And then he tells me to jump, and I'm like, what? And I jump, and then the explosions, and I love you, Alex Rogan. All that stuff for me was so much fun, and it kind of has everything in it, from sort of love to comedy to action to adventure to like drama. And I love like my favorite line, is like, I love you, Alex Rogan. I just love that drama. Looking up into the sky, and there's explosions behind me, and my hair is blowing. I love all that.
You totally sold it too, because that's that could be a corny moment, and you totally sold it.
It was so much fun. It was so.
I would imagine that sequence right there too. We're talking about jumping off the truck and doing all that stuff. It'd be kind of easy to lose yourself in that you were making a movie. It'd be kind of easy to be like, like a kid at the old McDonald's playground, just like like, oh, we really are like cowboys and Indians here. And, it's make believe again. Like it's not movie making. It's make believe, having fun again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a part of acting is, sort of buying into the make believe, and then making it real for yourself, and getting lost in it. And that's what I love it. I love make believe. It's like I could take me and be Maggie. That's what it's all about. It's so much fun.
I hate to be unoriginal, but I would say the exact same thing. That's my favorite part too, because it's like Kathy says, it sort of covers everything, and it made it easy to do. Like when we did those scenes, those were tight scenes. It wasn't. I didn't feel like I had to do anything unnatural or do anything. I didn't have to overact. I didn't have to. There were a few things which like, oh, you need more of this. And then there were awkward things. There were corny lines that I had to say and stuff. But that scene was so much fun, especially the back and forth with the wait a minute, tell me what's going on. It's like, just get in the truck. Oh, no, I'm not going with you. No, you're not. Blah, blah, blah. All that stuff. It was so much fun, this sort of the overlap and the action and the just the pace of it and everything. And it kind of just, I remember it sort of played itself, it wasn't, there was not a lot of, agonizing over, did we get this line right? And, that moment, it just kind of, it was just strange,
What was so much fun also was he was the beta unit. So it's like, just got shot by the Xanadu. Okay, if you want to come with me, you can come with me. Now you got to jump. All that stuff is so sort of funny because you weren't sort of acting like a normal human being. Like you were just like, okay, I have to do this now, and now I'm going to blow myself up. It's great. It's so fun.
Yeah. And it's funny both of you picked that, because when I talk to people of my age range and everything that watched it, and like I said, I was born in '73, so I'm pushing 50. Anybody that's watched it like me, when I say, do you remember this movie? Oh yeah, I remember that movie. It was great. You remember whenever the guy stole the truck and he crashes into the alien ship?
You're right.
That scene is talked about by a lot of people, not just you guys being your favorite, but a lot of people actually remember that, stands out to them. That one, and I hear people talking about how the mad teenager gets rejected by the bank, and what does he do? Does everything that every parent says not to do, gets in a stranger's car and takes a ride with him.
Alien abducted. Yeah.
The only thing that would have made it better was if he gave you a piece of peppermint first, and then,
have some wild cherry.
So not a question. So not a question. But before we have to let Lance go, and Kathy might speak to us longer, but before we have to let Lance go, I would like for both of you to I know you guys are always doing something. You don't never stop. So I want you to, if you have anything going on to plug, to talk about, or anything, any projects coming up, theater, TV shows, movies, Comic-Cons, events, anything like that, just plug it up.
I'll go real quick because I don't have much to say. I did a thing called on The Patient, this TV show, The Patient. They stream that. I don't know if you watch. I did a thing on that. I'm in one episode of that. That was a lot of fun, and I'm just going to start rehearsals for a play in about 2 weeks or something, and I'm pretty excited about that. But that's just in California.
Cool.
But that's all. That's my plug.
So I have a movie that's streaming right now called Ask Me to Dance. It's a romantic comedy about line dancing. Anyway, it's a really sweet sweet movie that you can find it, I don't know, somewhere. You know what I did? Somebody asked me about it.
I found the apple. I'll find this one.
Somebody asked me, and I just sent the link to Rotten Tomatoes, and it's there because it gets like 86% or something like that. And otherwise I've been sort of working on kind of developing some projects of my own, doing some writing and trying to get into some directing some more. So that's the direction I'm moving in at the moment, hopefully.
Awesome. We're learning about that algorithm stuff that you're talking about too. My wife just got her second book published. For she's a counselor with autism, so she just did a dictionary of terms, logistical terms that for everyone. So it's like a dictionary. It's called autismology. So she just got that done in her first month. She sold 360 copies. So we're learning about those algorithm things too, trying to push on that. So
that's really very cool. That's very cool that she's doing that. That's tough stuff, man. Good.
All right, I'm gonna roll. But good to see you guys. Talk to you later, Kathy.
Yeah, we'll have to catch up because it's been a while. We'll have to catch up. Okay.
And thanks again for coming on with us, since we really appreciate
you. Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks,
have
guys.
A good one.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Well, that was good. That was great.
I'm trying to figure out how to get off here now.
I can take care of that for you. I can actually get.
All right.
Now you'll have to exit studio probably, or just exit your browser, one or the other.
Oh, okay.
Worst case scenario, exit your browser. But
thank you again.
Thank you guys. That was so much fun. Really,
we're looking forward to that Weekend at Bernie's episode too. So.
Okay, perfect.
Well, but still, thank you for coming on and everything. And I know we changed things around to make things work. That's great. That's awesome. We have no complaints about that at all, obviously. But really appreciate you coming on as well with us, and being so easy to work with. We really do.
Oh, yeah, it was my pleasure, and I'm sure Lance had fun too. So thanks a lot, you guys.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, for sure. Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody.
That was fucking awesome, man.
That was good. That was good. So that was Lance Guest and Catherine Mary Stewart of the last.
Oh, we were still going.
Last Starfighter. Yeah, we're still going, and Travis is dropping F-bombs, thinking we're off the air.
You can beat me. Hey, we're gonna cut that, right?
I might leave it on just so you suffer the personal humiliation for a few weeks or something. I'm
not humiliated. I just feel like we're trying to have a family show, and I already quoted the kid on the bunk bed one time.
Oh, but dude, it's well. See, we had to get it in there though. It's okay. My previous guest I had on just this past week. I don't know if you listened to it or if you've seen it. His name was Jeffrey Blake.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I hadn't caught that one yet.
He's the one that I told you played in Young Guns as McCloskey, and he was did the Jenny's abusive boyfriend and Forrest Gump, and he was in. Gosh, man, he was in 3 Ron Howard films, 3 Robert Zemeckis films. So there was Apollo 13, there was Contact, there was Ed TV, there was Frost Nixon, there was Castaway, Forrest Gump, and of course there was Young Guns. He's been in. Matter of fact, he is in the pickup truck. I meant to bring this up earlier, and I didn't do it, about how people have cameos in movies at a young age. He was in the pickup truck when Maggie was jumping in the back. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he's the blonde guy, I think, in the pickup, because it said nothing that he had a bit part in it. He's one of the guys in the truck. And if I look at him at that young age and just picture him now, I can see the comparison, seeing me and him. And I don't know. Someone told me that the blonde girl in there was Amanda Wyss, or Wyss or Weiss. I forget how she pronounces it. So she went on to play in like Elm Street and a few other movies. I'm drawing a blank on them right now. But she's been in quite a few things. But back to what we're doing today, though. This was such a fun show, because me personally, I'm always trying to fit Last Starfighter in every time I get a chance.
No doubt. To have them both on, dude. Oh my gosh, to get Lance and Kate. She told us she was going to do it.
She did. She said that she would get us on eventually. And when I talked to her about it, and she said, I asked her, would she forward my information to him so I could maybe see if he'll come on and do a Last Starfighter show with us. And she had the idea of, hey, why don't both of us group up and we'll have a group conversation about it. And I was like, I can't say no to that. That's awesome.
No doubt.
So we're going to work this out, and we worked everything out with the date and everything. And
I'm going to start calling her. I'm going to give her a title. I'm going to start calling her Dame Catherine Mary Stewart, like Dame Judi Dench. Like she's having that high esteem from us. She's Dame Catherine Mary Stewart now.
There you go. All right, well, let's go and get it out there where you can get the podcast and everything. Wherever you get your podcast at, you will find us out there. We are on iTunes. We are on Spotify. We're on Stitcher. We're hosted on Anchor.fm. If you go to Anchor.fm, you do have the ability to leave us voice messages on there. Whether you have something you want to say about the podcast you just listened to and heard, if you have any messages you want to get to us about something you'd like to see, or correction if we messed something up, that is all good. And believe me, I don't mind being corrected. I was just corrected 2 weeks ago, finally, for the first time by somebody. We had done a Roadhouse show, me and another guy who's Travis knows, Ray Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
We did Roadhouse, and Travis McKenna from Roadhouse reached out to me. He was one of the bouncers in the movie. and had told me where we had messed up a couple of names and was just giving me a correction on who was who, and also to tip me off who it was we couldn't remember. And that led to me getting him on the next show and talking with him, which was great.
So cool. So cool.
So, I mean, if you've had a chance to hear that one, he's got a lot of great stories. He's worked with a lot of fun people.
I started listening to that episode on the way to work, and I was like, all right, I'm going to put this back on when everything calms down. And I was further into it than that, but the last thing I remember was Ray talking about how much we both of you were talking about how much we, looking back, it's kind of like we forget there were so many wrestlers and so many movies back then.
Yeah, we brought it up because of Terry Funk being one of the original bouncers in the bar that got fired.
Right, and being kind of cut up like he was. He was more fit than he was in his ring performances. It seemed like.
And Travis McKenna had already worked with Terry Funk on a previous movie as well. Not to mention, he also was somebody who had walked wrestlers to the ring. He was one of the bodyguards that walked Hulk Hogan in WrestleMania 2 against King Kong Bundy in the cage match. He's got a magazine with a picture of him and behind Hulk Hogan as they're walking him down, and got him to autograph it for him and everything, which is cool. But anywhere, if you could leave us a voicemail, a message if you want to, but anything, go ahead and do that. You can reach the show at retrolife4u@gmail.com, and always respond to everything. So if you send me something, I will get back with you on it. I'm on Instagram with this and also on Facebook as well. So Travis, man, I'm glad you were able to make it back this week.
Oh man, me too. Oh, I wasn't gonna miss this. I was not gonna miss this. I would have drug another computer into the room or something if I couldn't have got this working. Like I wouldn't miss this for nothing. Waking up, my voice being crazy too. Like, oh my gosh, I was freaking out, man.
So you guys don't know this is for some behind the scene kind of stuff. I talked to him before the show started, and he sounded like he was going through puberty again or something.
I did, boy.
It was crazy.
It was like,
it was really crazy. But we got one more. We're going to get you back on here soon for sure. If we can ever get the date and everything settled on. And I know you know which one it is. I don't want to say anything and give it away or anything, but
I know
you know which one I'm talking about. So, and
I'll be on here for more than that too. Though we got more LOTR episodes to do, and I'm getting a bug, and is as easy as this has become for me now with getting StreamYard across platforms, I will be here more often.
Well, I got to get you here more often, or I got to find me another co-host to come on for full time and get you as part time. Let you be like you can be like The Rock. You can have part time status. Speaking of wrestlers,
oh yeah, I get them beanies, and then you can be like, finally, the Rollins.
Yeah. You can have your part-time status if I can get someone to be in your full. I gotta have that person to bounce things off of,
Right.
Crazy. But anyway, that being said, we'll go ahead and cut this on out of here. Thanks everybody for listening to the show. We hope you enjoyed everything. Travis, thanks for being here again this week, man. Hope you.
And tell them you got to sign off with "May the what be with you."
Oh, I'm sorry. We were supposed to tell this.
Not the Force.
We were supposed to say this to Lance before you left, but to all you Starfighter fans who are listening to this episode and watching it, may the luck of the 7 pillars of Gulu be with you at all times.
There you go.